Dave from G4 Guitar Schools with another video lesson. Today's lesson we're looking at the riff from Black Dog by Led Zeppelin, played by Jimmy Page. This riff was played obviously on electric guitar when you hear it, so I'm looking at it on the acoustic guitar just to show it can be done, and that acoustic guitar players can learn to play this one and actually enjoy playing it and learn a lot from it as well. So the way we're going to go about this riff is we're going to learn firstly the scale from which the riff comes from, and this riff's in two parts. We're taking a look at part one in this video. So the first part comes from the A minor pentatonic scale, and we're going to spend just a few minutes reviewing that scale and going over it. If that's new for you, I suggest you dig in and learn the scale first. Okay, then we're going to break it down and learn to play the riff with notes just from the pentatonic scale. And the reason I say that is when Jimmy played this riff, there's some notes that move outside of the pentatonic scale shape we're going to be using, and there's some notes inside it that he's adding. So what I want to do is to break it down and show that you can play this just by using notes inside the A minor pentatonic scale. This will help you see how the scale is working and how the riff works within the scale shape itself. Then we're going to break it down and add the additional notes and step outside the scale a little bit to show you how the actual riff goes itself. So by the time you finish this video, you'll be able to know the scale it comes from, you'll be able to see how it works within the scale, you'll have the knowledge to play the actual riff itself, exactly the way he plays it, and as such you should be able to actually understand this much better than just learning the riff, so you can actually look at it and maybe take it into your playing, maybe transpose it to a different key or something like that. So anyway, no more ado, let's jump in and get going. So the first part we're going to look at is the A minor pentatonic scale, of which the first part of this scale, this first riff, is based. So we're going to take our first finger here on the 5th fret, okay, and we're going to walk up from the 5th fret on the 6th string to the 8th fret with our little finger. Crossing over, we go to the 5th fret with the first finger, to the 7th fret, 3rd finger. Crossing over again, 1st finger, 3rd finger on the 4th string. Crossing over again, 1st finger on the 3rd string, 3rd finger on the 7th fret, 3rd string. Crossing over again to the 2nd string, changes back to a little finger on the 8th fret. Okay, going over to the 1st string, we show that exactly the same movement there, 1st to 7th. Okay, so all together from the 5th fret down here we have. And if we can play that backwards. All together. Let's slow that down, okay? Here we go. 5th fret on the 6th string starts. We come backwards. That's your A minor pentatonic scale from the 5th position on the guitar. So learn this piece first, work your fingers through it, and then tune into the next video, which where we can see how we can play the riff using just the scale notes. So now you've learned the A minor pentatonic scale in the 5th position, let's dig into the riff. And the part of the riff we're going to learn first will be this. Okay, and again, this part is we're looking at just to be able to play the riff close enough using just the notes from inside the scale. Okay, so the riff starts here with the 3rd finger on the 7th fret of the 5th string, and we go from this note over to the 5th fret on the 4th string, and then we come back to that 7th fret on the 5th string. There's our first 3 notes. Then we go back to the 1st finger on the 5th fret 4th string, up to the 7th fret on the 4th string. There we go, let's repeat that. Again, even slower. Okay, moving over, our first finger climbs over to the 5th fret on the 3rd string. So we have. And then we finish this little riff off, this part, by coming back to our third finger on the 7th fret, 4th string, all together. So even slower. And from a picking point of view, I recommend just using all downstrokes this time at this point, so we don't actually have to worry too much about the picking. We can focus more on our fretting hand again. So moving on, the next part we're going to look at sounds like this. Again. So from the piece we've just learned, we finished there on the 7th fret of the 4th string. We take this third finger over to the 7th fret on the 3rd string, and then we take our first finger over to the 5th fret on the 2nd string. Okay. Now we're going to play a little hammer-on pull-off piece. Okay. So the note we have, we pick that note and come over here on the 5th fret of the 3rd string. And we hammer on with our third finger to the 7th fret on the 3rd string and do a pull off after that. So those notes together would be, and then we take it back to the 7th fret on the 4th string with our third finger. So we have even slower. So now if we put that all together, so from the last part we learnt, we're going to be carrying on learning. Okay, so from that note we finished off on, we come down to the 5th fret on the 4th string, cross over to the 5th fret on the 3rd string with the first finger, back to the 7th fret on the 4th string. Put that at the end of the piece we just finished. Next we're going to go down to the 5th fret on the 4th string and play this note here, hammer on the 7th fret, and hammer on and pick the 2nd note. Pick, hammer, pick. So you've got 3 notes. 1, 2, 3. From there, we go to the 5th string and play from the 5th fret to the 7th fret, back to the 5th fret, down to the 3rd fret, hit the open string, and hit an A5 chord here where we're playing the open A string, 2nd fret on the 4th string. So that piece again. Okay, so the final part of this lesson, let's take a look at how the actual riff was played and compare that to what we've learned so far just by using the pentatonic scale itself. So it really differs in 2 places. The part we opened up with, okay, actually changes. He plays. So really, instead of playing those 2 notes, he actually, in 3 notes, he actually does a little chromatic line starting here on the 7th fret of the A string, walks up to that note, the 7th fret on the 4th string, comes back over to the 7th fret on the A string, and from there it's the same notes as we have. So our version using the scale would be was played was this. Okay. So when we say chromatic, what we're talking musically is we're playing every single note one after the other. So this is a chromatic move. See, we're playing the 5th fret, 6th fret, 7th fret. Other than that, the riff is the same. Let's put the two side by side. Here's our version from the pentatonic scale. Here's the original version. So you can see the pentatonic scale version does actually capture the character of what we're doing here. Okay. So that's the first difference. Let's take a look at the second difference. In the riff we learnt using the pentatonic scale, we played from the 7th fret on the 3rd string, little hammer on. Okay, so what he's doing, the actual riff we'll look at is this. Okay, so it's really just replacing this note of on the 5th fret 2nd string of the note of E with this note here on the 9th fret of the 3rd string. So instead of actually playing the scale version, then we do the hammer on. He actually strikes the D and slides up to the E note. And when he slides up, he doesn't pick the E note, he just slides into it, and by stopping on that note on the 9th fret, the note sounds out. So the hammer on and pull off is the same. Okay, that's our version with the scale. So we put those two differences together. That's the whole thing, the way it was played. Hope you found this was useful. If you have questions, please contact me, and hope to see you on the next lesson. Thanks, bye-bye.